Now that we've covered the Colosseum arc and pivotal development and juxtaposition that it gives, we're finally in the clear for new material, is something I'd like to say. From the looks of things, there should be at least one more story from the old Kino that we'll see be recycled, and that's the Country of Adults, and a very important episode of backstory for Kino. I'm going to say it should be airing for episode 5 since next week's preview is for Ship Country. The original Kinos had the story for episode 4, so we're a bit late, but that's still fine. It should be fun when we do get there, but enough predicting. This week we look at the Bothersome country, which doesn't sound as cool as it looks, but what it does do is give us a great example of the rhetoric found in Kino. This episode showcases true opposites of an extreme and pits them against each other through the lens of Kino. It's what makes the show so interesting for me, in the way that we aren't coaxed onto a single side, but are left to judge for ourselves who we think has the better of the morals. When I watched the old Kinos, that was basically all I was doing. I'm trying to justify in my head the stances that I was able to see, and I think that's what I'm going to do for this week. To set the tone, this story in particular takes an age-old battle and puts it to contention. It's the debate over man versus nature, how the development and progress of technology damages the earth, and the consequences and strides taken to atone or not atone for that damage. On the side of man, we have the Bothersome country. We are introduced to this giant fortress crab as a very efficient country. The fact that the officials take multiple jobs for me indicates that a select few people are running the show. They're active in the progress of the country and are delegated jobs that beset their status. This to me is a very good sign of understanding how to run a country and the roles that their officials are given. More so, the fact that they have the precise date of locations they've traveled to furthers this utopian high-tech country that they've developed. It's a place where the commodity of hot water comes off as luxury. This all to me parallels the technology side of this argument. The Bothersome country parallels human advancement and ingenuity. But in the midst of all of this amazing technology that they have at their disposal is a caveat. They claim that they travel much like Kino, to see different scenery and to enjoy the world. However, it's also true that they have to keep traveling lest their reactor blow up. So it isn't just for the journey of seeing the world that they're moving. There's a practical reason. In allowing themselves to move, they also leave tread marks on whatever land they pass through. There's an interesting quote that he makes where he says, which is a very literal quote, but is also one that I take to encompass progress as a whole. All people who have progressed in the world through science or math or medicine or really any field will leave a mark. This is an inevitability. However, the marks you leave aren't always going to be good marks. In the case here, we have the treads literally tearing through the environment, crushing whatever is in their way. And the country can't stop to fix their damage. It's just impractical to do so. The only thing they can do is keep moving forward and to keep advancing as they do so. Like he says, they can only hope that new life will grow from their treads. In some cases, their damage might open up new waterways, paths, and forests and create proper bedding for growth, but that's a big if, and it's not something they can dwell too much on. That's just how it is. The same is said for the advancement and progress of man in general. Those who can't keep up with the times just have to learn to adapt, while the new generation can only keep moving forward with hope. Those who can't adapt are left under the treads of the country, forgotten and flattened by progress. However, it's not a malicious attack. It's just something that happens, and I think that's a very important point to hammer home. The Bothersome country does not do so with malicious intent. A stroll through the country and we could see it's very peaceful. They use their energy in the least disruptive manner they can think of, and they mitigate as much damage possible, but they can't stop it all. It's not their fault, and I don't think progress and advancement is ever malicious. Moving forward in the country isn't an attack on the past, but we can't always stop all that's been done. We just have to learn to live with that and make compromises. But what about the other side then? As it is, Kino shows us both sides of the same coin. The main point of contention here isn't just the earth that's destroyed under the wake of the country, but it's also the other people being affected. After all, traveling the world continuously in the way they do will inevitably have them meet others. And in the same way, we can't just make great advancements without people noticing or taking the benefit of that advancement. Let's just call them wall country. Wall country here represents the opposition of advancement. It's the past that's left behind those who couldn't quite adapt with the new age of technology. We see this in both the appearance and the differing level of technology as they fight giant lasers with rockets, and their best defense is a stone wall compared to what I assume to be indestructible titanium or something. Sure enough, in passing through wall country, opposition would be met, and many people would be left in danger. The advancement of the country just seems intimidating, and even ignorant to the damage and to the people they leave behind. There's a great line where the general of wall country said, to which Kino responds, which for me captures exactly how it is with advancement. Sure enough, nature in the real world is being tampered with. We have to mine resources, and for a very long time, the degradation of our environment was something just being researched and something still up in the air for the greater mass. And even when it's so blatantly put in the faces of those who are traveling forward, it's not something they can deal with. Again, the Bothersome country is a very efficient place, and they see this as the minimal amount of damage that can be done with their excess energy. I'm not sure I can make the same comparison to how capitalism and the ensuing scientific breakthroughs being done are the most efficient way we're using our energy, but most research and progress done is for the betterment of our society. Unfortunately, we often have to pretend we don't hear the cries of the environment and those who are feeling the brunt of advancement. If we had to stop at every single plea, there wouldn't be advancement. If the country had to stop every single time to fix their damage, they'd be dead by now. So even if progress and advancement seems really great and dandy for everyone, it's only for those that manage to stick with the times. It's a complicated dichotomy that Kino's has presented, and one that very much mirrors the current situation that I think is found when we hear about climate change and the use of fossil fuels, and also the situation we see of those that don't have access to all the great inventions and progress we have because of status. And on the flip side, the wall country can't exactly play the victim card either. As Hermes makes the point, both sides have their caveats, and both sides have to find some way to live. Those left behind by advancement have to resort to their own handiness to get by, and if that handiness is a little sketchy, then so be it. Just as it's said, everything causes bother. It just all depends on which side you're on and how much you're willing to ignore to survive. That's the beauty of Kino. In the way that I can vouch for this amazing country of advancement, and at the same time be very skeptical about what it's doing and their philosophy. Nothing is ever clearly black and white in Kino. It's always these strange tinges of gray. You can take a side, sure, but like Kino, she doesn't really fully agree with either side. It's all up to us, the watcher, to find the side we want, or be as neutral as Kino. In that way, it's a show that gives us agency to how we want to interpret. But no matter what we choose, no matter what side we step on, it's always important to see the other side and acknowledge them. If you're planning to follow Kino's, maybe stick around and see what I have to say about the next episode. But anyways, I'm Brian, signing out.